From the darkest corners of the creepy old house down the street to the screams in the night. Settle in, Parafamily, to join with Whitney and Brandon for another spooky episode of the Para-Unity Podcast.
Hello. Good evening, Para Family. Welcome to another episode of the Para-Unity Podcast. And this is your girl, Whitney, just hanging out and holding it down for everybody. We have missed you guys so much. We've had a lot going on over the last few weeks, family stuff. Maybe some tornadoes in Brandon's neck of the woods. And also to all of you that are still out in the Midwest, I hope everyone is safe and everybody is trying not to get blown away out there. So spring has come. In fact, I feel like instead of March roaring in like a lion, I think April roared in like a lion. And for those of you who are Wicca or pagan religious groups, happy Beltane, happy May 1st. If you guys are listening live, I hope everybody has had a wonderful start to their spring. And we've had a lot going on. I went on an investigation last weekend with my friends of Transcend Paranormal. So if you guys remember Steve Dills being on the show, God, was it 2 seasons ago? Oh boy, I'm getting old. Whew, so much going on. Anyway, so we're moving on. This is actually our penultimate, that's one of your 10-cent words, penultimate or second to last episodes for the season. So tonight we are going to have Micah Campbell, who is award-winning author and podcaster and publishing wonderkind. He is on our show tonight, and he does a podcast called Ichor and Ink, and we're going to just hang out and talk about horror and the paranormal with lots of humor. And I think it'll be just like their podcast, except without so much coffee. I really should be drinking coffee, but then I won't sleep. Anyway, Micah is also the head of Anatolian Press, and I know him through our wonderful friend, Betsy Kulikowski, who I believe might make an appearance on the chat tonight. And speaking of which, the chat is open. If you have questions or very kind, thoughtful, insightful things to share, please feel free to enter it in the chat. So Micah hails from Greenwood, Missouri, which is a town of 5,221 people as of the 2010 U.S. Census, and it's part of Jackson and Cass counties. Greenwood was laid out in 1867 and was fully incorporated in 1963. So I'm going to kind of pull back a little bit to the bigger picture and look at Jackson County, which was once a home to the indigenous Osage tribe, among others. They interacted with the French fur traders, and it was considered to be part of the New France territory in terms of the European settlers. Later, it was sold to the United States as part of the Louisiana Purchase of 1803. Jackson County was officially organized in 1826 and named for Andrew Jackson. I will keep my opinions to myself. This area was a primary point for westward expansion of 3 trails, including the Oregon Trail, the California Trail, and the Santa Fe Trail. Now, Jackson County, Missouri also figures into the history of the Mormons. Joseph Smith, the founder of the Mormons, believed the Missouri-Kansas border to be the site for the New Jerusalem, and he traveled with a group to the site in 1831. However, there were conflicts with other settlers due to religious and cultural differences. Some of the settlers who settled in Missouri were from pro-slavery states, and they resented the Mormons coming from the northern states and believed them to be abolitionists. So in November of 1833, the Mormons were driven systematically out of Jackson County, not returning until 1867 after the end of the Civil War. Speaking of the Civil War, Jackson County was also the site of several engagements. I cannot remember the name of the battle, but the battle, there was a battle that was fought in Jackson County that was said to be the Gettysburg of the Midwest, basically. So that's pretty interesting. Nearby Kansas City exploded in the late 19th and early 20th century, thanks to the railroad. And I mean that in a figurative sense, not the literal sense. Additionally, Kansas City became a center for blues and jazz music and was the location for Walt Disney's first animation studio and the headquarters for Hallmark cards. By the way, guys, in a couple weeks, it's Mother's Day. Send your mother a card. Make it a Hallmark. They are not endorsing us, but just to say. So let's get to what we love about the show, which is the hauntings. So Jackson County and Missouri in general has some really amazing haunted locations. There's the Lemp Mansion in St. Louis, which I have a soft spot in my heart for the Lemp family. I really do. There's also the Vale Mansion and the Elms Hotel and Spa. Now, about 6 miles away from Micah's home in Greenwood is Longview Mansion, which was built in 1914 by Robert A. Long, who was a millionaire in the lumber industry. It is said to be haunted by his daughter, Lula Long Combs. And if her apparition sleeps in her bed, it's said that she leaves it messy and in disarray. She also was a very accomplished horsewoman, so her apparition has been seen and heard riding horseback. That's actually pretty cool. I really like that a lot. So I think it's about time to get my lovely guest on the show. So my dear Para family, let's give a nice warm Para Unity welcome to Mr. Micah Campbell. Good evening, Micah.
Hey, how are we doing this evening, Whitney?
I am doing so great. And yep, there she is. Betsy is on the show. Hi, Betsy. We're glad to see you tonight. And have you been on Betsy's podcast yet?
I think I was guest number 1.
Yeah.
Guest either number 1 or number 2. If I was number 2, I'm quite offended. But I think I was number 1, maybe number 2. Either way, one of those.
You were in the early stages, of course.
Yep.
Yes, and for those of you who don't know, Betsy confirmed it. You were number 1.
Darn right.
And for those of you that are following Betsy on her social media, and you're also reading her most awesome books, the Veritas Codex series, Betsy is actually ventured into podcasting territory with two of her, with JB Kane and Jenny Sinard Branch, who's also been on our show, and they're doing a podcast called the Unfreaking Believable Podcast. So give them a listen. Yes, Betsy, you're quite welcome. I'm happy to plug you. Micah, how are you tonight?
Well, I'm doing good. You know, I was telling you back in the green room, I am not a night person. So on our podcast, Chelsea's not a night person either. C. McKenna, who I do my podcast with, I'm usually up at 5 o'clock in the morning. And we record at 7 o'clock in the morning, and we have all the energy, and we're crazy, and it's hilarity. And 10 minutes before right now, I was in bed, watching TV, like ready to chill. And then I was like, okay, got to put my Micah voice on. You know, it takes a minute to get the Micah voice going. So
the Micah voice.
Yeah.
Oh,
so I slammed down a cup of coffee. I slammed down a couple whiskeys, and now I'm ready to roll, man. Let's do it.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. Thank you again for that. And we're so glad that you're able to be here. And oh man, now this is actually, I think this is really the first time you and I have actually really talked.
I don't think we've ever spoken before. We've communicated
No.
often in correspondence and text and IMs and emails, but never vocally. So yeah, this is a first.
This is really exciting. So you know what? Since we're talking about, we'll talk about how you and I know each other in a little while. Let's actually talk more about podcasting because you've got one yourself.
Mhm.
It's called Ichor and Ink. And as you mentioned earlier, you have a lovely co-host, Chelsea C.D. McKenna, who is another award-winning author and actually in many ways your partner in crime.
She is. I will correct you though. I am not an award-winning author. I've never submitted for an award. I've never won one. I am a Amazon best-selling author in 3 categories.
Oh,
So,
okay.
yes,
Which is
but
still pretty good too.
Yeah, just I think let's be honest. I'm gonna say I think it sounds better. Whatever. But I just didn't want anybody being like he's never won a reward. He's telling fibs. So yeah,
being an author sucks sometimes.
It does because you have to be super straight all the time, and it's like, I mean, man, come on, it's just words. Chill out.
Well, let's go and talk about the fun stuff. Let's talk about Ichor and Ink. How did that get started?
Oh gosh, I don't know. So way back in the day, I don't know when I met the Mako boys, which I know you've had on your podcast.
Mm-hmm.
Those guys are my homies. And so I met them through the first podcast I started, which was The Great American Urban Legend. And I started that before anybody else did. And it kicked off. It did great, 500,000 downloads, all this kind of stuff. And at episode 38, I was like, all right, I'm bored. I want to do something else. So I just killed it. I just stopped, and I was just like, oh, whatever. So I went and wrote a book. But that is basically where Ichor and Ink comes from. I hollered at Chelsea a little while ago. I said, hey, look, I'm feeling that bug to get back into telling some stories online, on a podcast. And she's like, I've always wanted to do a podcast, but I don't know, you're the person I'd love to do it with. So I was like, all right, let's freaking do it. And so, yeah, we just decided to create a podcast that tells real stories. So it's all this hair is bothering the heck out of me. I don't know if anybody's seen that, but goodness gracious, it's just bothering me.
No, you're good. You're good.
Yeah, but so basically just to tell, as we do in our niche, to tell, horror stories and supernatural stories, urban legends, lore, all that kind of stuff, but to tell it in a more narrative driven, since we're both authors, in a more narrative driven storytelling kind of way. And so that's what we do.
Awesome. And you guys really do cover the whole range. You're not just ghosts.
No.
You're also cryptids.
Oh yeah.
You're killers and
everything. I mean, she's been on a UFO kick lately. So we've got a couple. She's got a UFO story coming up, and then we did a super deep dive into Area 51 that we're getting ready to do. So, and I don't get down with aliens or that kind of stuff at all. So but we do it all. Bermuda Triangle to Gates of Hell. To it's everything.
That is fantastic. And we'll say hello to Mr. Ronnie Anderson from Bedford Paranormal, and who's actually going to be on our last episode of the season. Yay! Hi, Ronnie. Good to see you.
Hey, Ronnie.
Yeah. Oh, boy. Okay, so what has been your favorite episode to work on with Ichor and Ink so far?
Pretty easily, I'd have to say, what was it called? The White Thing, THANG, White Thing. It's basically an albino Bigfoot that's down in Alabama. And yeah, a very, very, very interesting story. But Chelsea and I both cried during it, which was hilarious. It's like, why are we emotional telling the story? But it just was super emotional because this creature is just misunderstood and is a gentle giant and is being exiled to the to the outsides of society, and it was a great story. So that by far is, I think that was like a month ago. The week we did
that was a recent one.
Yeah,
yeah,
that's
like
my
within
favorite.
the last few weeks.
Yeah,
and I mean, I know you can't speak for Chelsea, but what do you think she really likes?
Oh, I will definitely speak for Chelsea. That's in our contract that I am at 100% allowed to speak for Chelsea. And
you heard it here, Chelsea. I'm sorry.
And I would say that Wild Thing probably. Yeah, it was not Wild Thing. White Thing. Yeah, I would say that's her. That was her go-to as well. It was just a good episode. It was a great episode.
So you also go through the route your narrative, because you're both of you, as you pointed out, you're both writers. So, but you also inject a lot of humor into it. So where do you think is, I'm going to get deep with you for a moment. Yes. Where do you think is the why do you think humor and horror have such a fun crossroad?
So I love that concept, humor and horror. I along with probably any and everyone who's watching / listening, love horror movies. But I do not like super bloody, super extreme torture porn, that kind of stuff. I am not a fan of it at all. Never have been. Even demon, really heavy demon lore, although I love researching and talking about it, I don't like taking it in. I don't like that. My jam is just horror comedy. I freaking love it. Slashers and horror comedy. I just think it's because I think they're both very good ways to address super heavy topics, whether straight on or subliminally, really heavy topics you can get into, but comedy is a great way to address that kind of stuff.
Yeah. And yeah, absolutely. What do you think have been, now getting kind of backtracking a little bit to heavy topics, what do you think out of some of the episodes that you have done so far, which ones kind of stand out to you as kind of having some deeper and more nuances underneath the story?
That's a hard question. That's a very hard question.
Hey, I make you think. Sorry.
Had you prepped me with that question, I could have a list of our episodes up. But we have done 70 episodes in the last 7 months.
That's awesome.
So I honestly can't answer that question. I really can't. If I was able to look it up, I would be able to do that. But like 70 episodes in 7 months, my brain is mush when it comes to actually, picking out what episode we did and what I can't remember that stuff.
Okay, don't worry about that part.
Plus, then. You see, I mean, look at the gray in my hair, in my beard. My memory isn't what it used to be. It's just not.
I always thought of gray beards as being very venerable.
Oh, sure, they can be any kind of a bull, but that doesn't change the fact that I can't remember crap. So,
well, that's good to know. And as you said, you have 78 episodes right now, so that means there's plenty of chances for everybody to grab hold of your podcast and just listen to it and catch up with it. Because, maybe I should have known better not to get so deep this late in the night.
We can get as deep as you want. Just don't ask me to remember anything.
Okay, so what have been some of the deeper issues that may have come up?
Oh gosh, I mean, okay, so let me tell you this. We don't get deep.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So that is. I don't think I have the faculties to get deep. I do on a one-on-one basis if we're in a conversation, if I'm speaking to someone, if we're speaking, sure, we can go deep, but we are very much entertainment.
Right.
Yeah. So there's not a lot of room for, philosophical. Plus I would probably, can I say pissed? I would probably piss a lot of people off. If you can say that. Yeah. Yeah. If you wanted to get deep and get philosophical, I'd probably make you mad. That's a general idea, which most people would probably get mad at anybody's because nobody can handle anything anymore. So that's just the way it is.
That's fair enough.
Yeah.
So let's go ahead and shift gears a little bit to some of your first project. So you were saying that your first podcast project was on urban legends.
Mm-hmm.
So, and then you also wrote now that you said after 38 episodes, you're like, oh, I'm going to do something else. I'm going to write a book.
Yeah.
Was that first book the Urban Legends and Ghost book?
Yep. That's the only book I've written. It is. I did. If no one's seen it, I did bring a.
It's so
copy
pretty.
there. Yeah.
Yep.
But there it is. So that was the only book I've ever written. I've written short stories that we've published through Anatolian Press, but the Urban Legends, Ghost Stories, and Folklore is the only thing I've written. I want to do a volume 2. I would love to if I could ever find the time, but I can't seem to not be doing something else for someone else. Like, it's crazy how but that's how, and Chelsea and I make jokes about it all the time. We thrive on chaos and on helping other people. Like, it's just what we do. So it'll get written eventually, whether it's the next couple months or the next couple of years. What
appeals to you about urban legends?
I love the idea that it is always it is based in reality, in some whether a cautionary tale that a mother told a child generations past, or whether something happened and someone misconstrued what happened and they said, and their brain said, this is what happened. But then no matter how many hundreds of years prior to that happened, through this generational game of telephone, we get this amazing story that we now have. And I guess I'm super obsessed with the idea of those stories continuing, and what the stories we know now as fact, I put that in air quotes, but as fact, these urban legends, how we know them, how are they going to look in 50, 100, 200 years through another 2 or 3 generations of telephone.
Oh, yeah. I've actually wondered about that too. Yeah. What is I know it's like asking you to pick your favorite child, but what is one of your favorite urban legends?
One of my favorites is, and we actually, I think, if I'm not mistaken, what is today? Is today Wednesday?
Today is Wednesday.
Yeah, the first, I think we dropped my favorite urban legend of all time today on YouTube. But the Ozark Howler, it's absolutely one of my favorites.
Okay, we got to hear about this.
Yep. So the Ozark Howler is a beast in the Ozark Mountains, and if you go back and look at the lore, it covers the gamut. I'm telling you, from Aleister Crowley to a coven of Wiccans who figured out how to do shape-shifting magic and became the protectors and the scales of justice in the mountains, all the way back to Cerberus and Fenrir from mythology. There's so much lore and mythology all tied into this, but the coolest thing about it is the first recorded mention of the Ozark Howler was from Daniel Boone. No kidding. And you can go look it up. You can actually see the parchment that he wrote it on. He wrote a letter to his stepsister saying that I ran across a monstrous black beast in the blah, blah, blah. He describes this beast and talking about how its howl was blood curdling. Please tell the settlers, blah, blah, blah. Sincerely yours, Daniel Boone. It's awesome. Like, I freaking love that. And so that at least right now, that's definitely my favorite.
That's a pretty interesting one.
Yeah.
I wonder if any of our other Southern friends actually have heard of this.
Yeah. I don't. I had never heard about it until I stumbled across it, and man, it's a cool story. It gets really, really into a lot of, like, Aleister Crowley. I don't know if you're familiar with him or how familiar. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
But he was a spy for England, and that's how
I did not know.
Yeah, so that's how he made it to the States. Was he came over as a double agent, and so he was doing spy work, and so he landed in New York, and on his way to California, he stopped in the Midwest, and he was drawn by ley lines, the ley lines of the Ozarks, which are rumored to be very powerful. He was drawn by those, and then of course, this is one of the fringe theories, but that he created the Ozark Howler during his time in the Ozarks, messing with those ley lines. So,
oh, Alistair.
Yeah,
Tisk,
the wickedest
tisk,
man
tisk.
alive.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Okay. So what about so how did you get involved in getting interested in urban legends and the paranormal? Have you ever been on an investigation before?
I've never been on an investigation, an official one. So, okay, I think really the answer is twofold, right? And
Right.
I've answered this question before, but I'm a metal dude. You probably see guitar. You can see guitars or amps and keyboard. I do my own music. I've got lots of tattoos. I'm a metal dude. Always have been. 16, I started a band. I think by the age of 19, we were touring, being played in Japan. We were on the radio and all this kind of stuff. So always been into music and always been into metal. And one thing about metal is their wicked covers, right? And so as a kid, seeing these gnarly, wicked, crazy covers, I think that probably put a little seed in my head of the fantastical or the other. And so then when I was, I don't know, maybe I was 20. I think I had just gotten married. So I wasn't 21 yet because we got married. Amanda was 19. I was 20. Okay. And all my buddies were over because at the time, we had bought our first house and it's just me and Amanda. And so all my buds are like, dude, now your house is the jam house, right? It's the place to go. So we set up like 16 TVs and like did the Halo LAN connections, so we always played Halo on Xbox. This was 20 plus years ago.
Oh boy.
Oh yeah. But one night we were super bored and I can't remember who it was, but they're like, dude, you ever heard of Stoll, Kansas? And we're like, no, what is Stoll, Kansas? And so we started, of course, you didn't have cell phones, right? At the time. This is 21 years ago. So we actually had to get on like AOL, do all that kind of stuff, get on AOL, watch the screen, populate. But we did a little looking and found out that there's a gateway to hell in Stoll, Kansas, which is only about, I don't know, maybe an hour and a half from my place. So let's freaking go, boys. We jumped in a Fleener. One of our buddies had a van SUV kind of thing. So like the five of us jumped in and a road trip out there. We left about 1:30 in the morning and, cause we wanted to get there at 3 for the witching hour. Figured, if you're going to do something spooky, you got to do it right. Mm-hmm. Get there. And, we had a heck of a time. I mean, a gnarly time. We got chased by a patrol dog and a guard. One of our buddies, while we were being chased, we were trying to jump the 6-foot fence, but one of our buddies was like kind of portly, and he couldn't make it over the fence, so we flung him over, and he smacked his head and got knocked out. So like he was flat out cold on the ground while this Doberman and this guard is chasing us.
Oh no!
And not only that, but then the placebo effect of being. So there's a rumor about being in the church and where the witch was hung, and then her baby. She was hung because she was impregnated by a priest. But the priest, instead of taking responsibility, said she's a witch. She seduced me, and so they hung the witch. The baby was still alive when they buried her, but he was buried unto death instead of to life. So he went down instead of up, created the portal to hell. You can still find the stone that was covered for her grave. It's still there. The church foundation is still there, although the walls are down. But there's a lot of lore around the walls where if you step in within the 4 walls of the church, you can't feel the elements. And we swear we couldn't. We swear once we got in there, we couldn't feel the wind. That kind of thing. So a lot of placebo effect. Who knows if it was real or not? But on top of being chased, and one of our homies getting knocked out and it being 3 o'clock in the morning, we're an hour and a half from home. So then we were high on it. So then we found there was a bell. It's a bell tower in Kansas City. And it was built by a Frenchman, and he had come over first, was going to build a home. And while he was finishing the home, he got news that his wife and children coming across had perished in the sailing over, and so he killed himself. He jumped off the bell tower, And so we're like, well, that's on the way home, bros. Let's go do that next. So it's like, 4:30 in the morning now. And so we're like, and this is in Kansas City. So we like park like 3 blocks down, and we like sneak over, and we find the bell tower, we like sneak in. And I can't tell you everything, of course, because I have a job, but it was, yeah. So I think at that point I was hooked. Yeah. And yeah.
And a little PSA, kids, please do not legend trip in areas where it says no trespassing.
Oh, do we have children listening?
No, not all the time.
Okay.
Just be kids in the pejorative sense.
I will say, just don't get caught. Just don't get caught.
Great advice.
This is America. You can do what you freaking want to do.
And you heard it here, folks.
Darn right.
You're so bad.
Oh man. Don't get me talking. I've only had one glass of whiskey, so you're not going to get too much out of me.
Oh, that's totally fine. Wait, so let me get this straight though. You had this one guy that got knocked out, and you guys still decided to go to another location with this.
Oh yeah. It was. I mean, it was on at that point, right? I mean, I shouldn't say names, but yeah, he got smacked in the head, and
poor guy.
Oh, dude, it was great. It was so good.
Sometimes that's what it takes.
Yeah. That story actually is in my book, and that's so. Not that I'm saying go buy my book. Shoot, email
go buy
me.
His book.
Yeah, email me. I'll tell you the story. I don't care, But it is in the book. Yeah.
Yes, and we will post a link to the book and in the show notes, as well as links to the books for Anatolian Press. So let's talk about Anatolian Press. How did all that get started?
Yeah, so that's fun to talk about. Anatolian Press. Okay, so we'll start with the name. I'll be real quick about it. I have a dog, and he's a giant. He's an Anatolian Shepherd, and they're very unique, special dogs. And Anatolian Shepherd was on Time magazine, the cover of Time magazine one time.
Oh.
It's an amazing picture of it on top of a mountain, and all these bloodied sheep are over licking its wounds, and it is all bloody and wounded. And basically what an Anatolian Shepherd does is it spends a year on a mountain with 100 sheep. That is its job. And it's so protective that even the shepherds can't approach it like quickly. They have to take days and days and days to approach it so that the dog can sniff them and remember them. And they're bred to fight off lions, wolves, things like that. And so anyways, this Anatolian Shepherd had fought off 5 wolves to protect the sheep. And so it got totally tore up, but the sheep all were bloody, but it ended up not being the sheep's blood. It was the dog's blood. And so they're cleaning the dog and helping the dog, and the dog had protected them from 5 wolves. So I had an Anatolian Shepherd. I didn't know any of that history at the time. We just got him because he was awesome looking. And
that's so cool.
Yeah, so his name was Bear, and so that's where the name comes from, Anatolian Press.
Bear.
So after I wrote my book, it did really well, and I got into the writing community a little bit, and talking to a lot of self-published authors. There was just a lot of I felt that there was a gap between knowledge and success, and then of course traditional publishing and all this kind of stuff. And so I said, I'm just gonna start a company, a publishing house, where we're all going to work together, and we're going to publish books, and we're going to help each other out and do this as a whole, because 5 strands of string are stronger than, whatever. But the idea was to just create a community where we can publish books, help people grow, use each other as support and strength. And that's Anatolian Press. So we are a legit traditional publishing house, and I think we have 17 books published right now.
Yeah, I think that's about right.
Yeah, and many of them have won national and international awards, and the authors are awesome. I love everybody who's part of it.
Aw, yes, they sure are. And now we're going to get to how I got to know you a little bit. I met you through Betsy Kulikowski, and I can't even remember how she broached it to me, but she told me that you were looking for some writers for a charity anthology, a horror anthology.
Yeah.
And that turned out to be Autumn Tales Volume 1,
Mhm.
because now there's a Volume 2.
Yep.
And I'm like, okay. And she's like, hey, do you want to check this out? I was like, okay, sure, I'll check it out. And that was fun.
Yeah.
And although for whatever reason, I think every story except for mine had a plug for Folgers coffee. What is the deal with y'all and Folgers coffee? I swear to God.
We should talk about that. We should. And I think how does this camera work? If people are watching, okay, there's my finger right there. That's Anatolian, or that's Autumn Tales Volume 2, I think, right there. Right.
Yep.
Yeah. And so Volume 1 would be right next to it. But okay, yeah. So the idea, I don't know, man. I have no clue where it actually came from. Okay, I like Folgers coffee.
There you go.
I get railed for it. I get absolutely demolished everywhere I go, especially if you get into like the writers groups or whatever. It's like, I'm a down to earth dude. Like I don't drink fancy beer. I'm not a fancy dude. I do like to smoke fancy tobacco.
That is a really cool pipe, by the way.
I showed that the other day on our podcast, but it is a hand carved walnut. Wow. And I mean the detail. I don't know if you can see the detail is crazy, but a dragon hand carved walnut. So I like fancy tobacco. I like fancy whiskey. I don't give a coffee is dirt water to me. So if it's got caffeine in it and it's bitter, I'm down with it. So I love Folgers, but people just rail me on it. So I had mentioned to everyone that we should do something that unifies the book, if you can. If it's possible, if you're in modern times, or if you're, if you want to name one of your characters, Mr. Folgers or whatever. But let's just put Folgers in the and you don't have to be nice about it. You can be mean about it, whatever. I was mean about it in my story.
You were actually.
Yeah. But Folgers, I'm still waiting for a sponsorship. And I promise you, I'm going to get one because I've been pushing Folgers too hard for like the last 2 years. So it's going to happen. But so I think there was one other story in Autumn Tales 1 that did not have it because it was a Slavic. I know whose that was. Yeah. And mine, I didn't have Folgers in mine. Right. So, but I think you were a latecomer to the original 10. I think we had 10 at first, and then I said let's bring in a couple more, so we ended up with 12. So
and it all royalty sales on Amazon went to Collective Liberty.
Yep. Yeah. So they are a nonprofit organization that combat human trafficking. And they do some really, really rad stuff with it. They're boots on the ground. They work with like 1,300 different law enforcement agencies. They work with bars and establishments. Like one of the coolest things that they made is they created a straw that changes color when it comes in contact with chemicals.
So
Genius.
You can identify roofie.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So ladies can or men, whatever. So a victim will notice if their drink has been messed with. So
that's so cool.
Genius. So yeah. So wow. and it's still Autumn Tales until I take down the first edition, which I don't know when that will be. I'm keeping it up. It still does well, but all proceeds from that from purchasing that book goes to Collective Liberty and Autumn Tales 2 as well.
Yep, and Autumn Tales 2, and I'm in. So Betsy is in that one. I'm in that one, and we went from 12 to how many authors in Autumn Tales 2?
I think we actually doubled it. I think we went 22.
Did, yeah. Wow.
Yeah. Well, now. Chelsea was also in the first one. I think that's really where I started my relationship with her. It's where I started my relationship with everyone.
Yeah.
I blind, I cold called, most of you.
You did.
Yeah, I cold called everybody, cold IM'd, but hand selected, Betsy's like, oh, you should check this person, and I just, hey, how do you feel about, doing a short story?
Thank you, Betsy.
Yeah, Betsy, and a funny story about Betsy is, she's the first one I asked.
Yes.
And I said, hey, this is crazy question here, but what do you think about doing a short story for a horror anthology? She's like, Micah, I don't write horror. I was like, so what? Write something, and then just make it scarier. Put some blood in it, or something. And she's like, all right, I'll give it a try. So she did it. So thank you, Betsy. I appreciate that.
Thank you. We love you. That's funny. She's like, I don't write horror. Make it scary. Yeah.
That's what I told her. She'll tell you that too. I said, just do what you do and make it scary. So yeah.
So and also another endeavor that you have to kind of bring out horror to people is the Ichor and Ink magazine.
Yeah.
Good Lord. Good Lord.
That's been a lot of fun. So I started that, I guess, at the beginning of the year. Yeah, because the first one was in January. And again, it's so it costs exactly $14 to print. I charge $14 for the magazine.
Yep.
I don't make a penny off of it. And because it's not about making money, I thought of what would be an awesome medium to, again, get authors' names out there. And I was like, I used to love getting Cemetery Dance. I don't know if you ever got that magazine.
I do remember Amazing I love Cemetery
magazine.
Dance.
But it came and it had horror short stories and it had horror art and things like that. And I was like, dude, what if we did something like that? A magazine medium. I'm talking physical media. I'm not talking online stuff. I'm talking physical in your mail magazine. And so the first issue went out in January. It did pretty good. Any endeavor now with the extremely oversaturated social media and extremely oversaturated, everyone's a creator, everyone does this, everyone's a life coach, whatever. It's very hard to gain traction anywhere. So I had no expectations. First one did great in January, and I figured I'll do them every other month. Because with everything else on my plate, it's really hard to add another thing that I have to do on a regular basis on my plate. So second one, I said I love like gothic movies.
Yes.
Right?
Yes,
and even gothic music like Him and some of them, like even up to like My Chemical Romance, but all the way back down to like The Anniversary of the Wedding Ring, anything, the Cure, right? Anything like that, right?
Oh, yeah.
I just love the dark, moody, let's go cry together and paint our nails black, kind of stuff. And then the movies, it's so funny because so many of the authors who were submitting for issue number 2 were like, well, exactly what do you want? I was like, castles, black candles, Victorian dresses, whatever, man. Just think about what goth means to you, and that's what you do. But the second issue is really rad because one of our friends who was in Autumn Tales 2, she had a short story in there. She just got engaged, and her engagement photos
was such a beautiful piece.
Oh yeah, stunning. But she's a goth girl. She's beautiful. Her fiance is beautiful. He's a gorgeous dude. And but they've got this very gothic aesthetic, and so I was like, what you think about doing a cover story for issue number 2, and we'll call it a gothic engagement, and then we'll have the theme be a gothic horror. And
that was amazing.
This issue kicked off.
Yes,
I mean, it kicked off. Like, I went and looked at the report the other day, and quadrupled. What's like I don't know, 5 or 6 times the number of sales as the first one. So.
Quintupled, maybe.
Yeah.
Oh my God!
But the coolest thing about that is people who contributed. Their names are on the cover. So you see JB Kane, you see Whitney Zahar. You see, you see everybody's name, Daniel Bouts. You see Jessica Knight, the girl who we're talking about. But you see their names on this, and that's why I keep trying to tell people to continue contributing, because the more you have your name on something that gets into people's hands, that's more exposure, that's better exposure. So that is the whole goal of the magazine, of course, to be entertaining, to be eye candy and brain candy, and but the goal, the kind of like the on the back end there is more exposure for authors.
Absolutely. And that's something I've loved about joining in with Autumn Tales, and also even helping out with your magazine. I had such a blast doing that.
Well, plus it's fun, isn't it? It's just fun. Yeah.
Hey, I got to just sit back and watch a movie.
Right. Right. And people are still like, what exactly should what movie have you not seen? I give people like lists of like 5 movies. I've not seen that one. Okay, watch it and write a review on it.
Or I'd be like, hey, I haven't seen this in a while.
Yeah.
And the cool thing so for full disclosure, in the article for Ichor and Ink this past issue with the Gothic, I wrote a review on The Crow. The original Crow, as it turns out now, the original Crow.
Right.
Because we have another one coming out this year. And I found that very cool, because it's like, that's 30 years ago.
Right.
So this is the 30th anniversary of The Crow.
Which I love. I love Sarsgaard. I think he is awesome.
I do too.
But I don't think this movie will hold a candle to the original Crow. I just don't think there's any way. Yeah.
Especially the soundtrack.
No, the soundtrack was sick. It was ridiculous.
The soundtrack. Yeah. Oh my God. So here's what's funny though. I ended up watching that movie twice. Nice. And my 13-year-old, so I watched it for the first time just to kind of get back into it. Mm-hmm. And then I watched it the second time to really parse things out a little bit more. And my son, who is 13, came and joined me.
Yeah.
And he sat and watched it. He's like, he started laughing at the last scene when she's walking down.
Yeah. Sure. Yeah.
He's like, what are they doing? It was like, this was made in 1994, buddy.
Right.
It looks like 1994.
Just sit back and enjoy it, dude. Just enjoy it, man.
To be fair, he does enjoy some of the older stuff.
Yeah.
He just thinks it's so funny to see for what we see now.
Right.
To what passed for state of the art back then. He's like, oh my God.
Yeah.
And he's like, I mean, he's okay with it, and thankfully it was towards the end, so he missed a lot of the whole violent stuff.
Yeah,
but then again, I laugh because he likes watching horror movies with me.
Yeah. I let my kids watch that kind of stuff as long as parent the way you parent, right?
Parent the way you parent.
Yeah. So there's things I won't let them watch, and things I will. But the things I will let them watch, they love that stuff. So
I think it actually helps them really understand the many different nuances of human behavior.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, you have to see it all.
Yeah.
In order to really understand where people are coming from sometimes.
Yeah.
And also his birthday happens to be around Halloween, so
that's fun. Yeah.
Give it to him.
Yeah, darn right.
Yeah. I will say this. He does want to see the new Crow. He does.
Oh, I'll see it. Yeah, I'll see it. Yeah.
I'll watch it. I mean, I'm not gonna lie, Bill Skarsgård looks pretty damn fine.
Oh yeah, I think I've always liked him. I like all the Skarsgårds. I like them all.
I do too.
But so I just don't think the director, and I could be totally wrong. I just don't think the director is going to have the same kind of heart that it was just different back then. It was different back then.
It was different back then, and I think, as I said when I wrote the article, I said, I don't know. I really feel like, would this movie have had the same resonance?
Right. It was magical because of when it happened, and of course the tragedy with Brandon Lee. Right. Yeah. Right. So,
and I have no idea what he would have gone on to be like, or what he would have gone on to do. So,
right.
Yeah, but I did enjoy the postscript that you added at the end of the article.
Yeah, I thought that was important.
Thank you so much for doing that.
Yeah. If I wasn't in my underwear, the magazine's right there. But
thank you for that.
Right, but I would have to roll over, and then everyone would see things. So I can't do that. I apologize. You'll have to visit my my OnlyFans for that. OnlyFans / Micah Campbell. You can see it there. You can't see it here. So
fair enough.
Yeah.
Edit that one, Brandon. Haha.
No. Oh, are we getting edited? Okay.
Oh no, we're live.
Yeah.
We are live. We don't even. I don't think Brandon even edits the bloopers and crazy stuff out when we go podcast.
Okay, good. Well, because I knew we were doing this live, and so I was like, I'm going to be on good behavior.
Oh, please.
If I had known that there was editing involved, oh man, I mean, you'd get a different Micah. But I'm trying to be appropriate for live.
We kind of know each other, but we kind of don't know each other at the same time. So we're feeling each other out. Yay! Okay, so if you were different Micah, what would be some things that would happen?
Well, I would have rolled over there and shown everybody my junk. So
probably not.
Right? Yeah. So I mean, these are the different Micahs. Ask Betsy; she's seen other Micah. It's.
Well, we'll have to get you back on the show and also get Chelsea with you, and then let's.
Oh yeah, Chelsea and I have good.
You
time.
Guys are hilarious together.
Yeah, we have. Well, and I edit a lot. We usually record for about an hour and a half to 2 hours, and about 30 minutes makes it in. So I edit about an hour to an hour and a half of stuff out.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
Although that edit stuff, some of that stuff's golden.
Oh, it is. Yeah, it's real good. I used to put bloopers at the end of the episodes, but A, it was too much work, and B, it was like, dude, we're gonna piss people off if I keep putting this stuff in. Like, so I decided not to put them in anymore. I've got them all. I'm going to keep them, and I'm going to like upload them into Patreon or put them on private on YouTube and let people see them if they want to see them, that kind of thing. But
that's fun.
Yeah,
that's a good way to do it.
Yeah.
So obviously you are somebody that's got a lot going on. So what is up next for you, Mr. Micah Campbell? What other things do you have in the pipeline?
Well, it's funny you asked that, because I don't know if we can see it right over here where the amp is. See the two boxes on the amp? I don't know if you can see that. It's just in the corner.
I see the corner.
Yeah, but I started making my own beard balm, my own beard balm for this glorious mane.
Oh my gosh.
And so people have asked me to make them a batch. So I was like, dude, I'm just going to bulk order it. I'm going to make a bunch of beard balm and sell it. So cultured cryptid beard balm is going to be coming out soon for anyone who has a man with a beard, or anyone who has a beard. If you want,
hey Brandon, this is for you.
Yeah.
I think once Brandon hears this, you'll make his day.
Oh yeah, and the scent is awesome. I've been playing with the scent a lot, but it's got it's like cinnamon bark and sweet orange, and there's some tobacco and leather in there, and it's pretty sick.
That's so cool. That's one thing that I've learned about, especially this past season, with some of our friends that we've interviewed, paranormal groups, podcasters, things like that. I like it when they talk about some of the crafty stuff that they do. So you with the beard balm, our friends Lily and Vanessa with Haunted Happy Hour, they make their own coffee, bourbon infused coffee. It's so good.
Nice.
And I know some people that make candles.
I do candles.
Oh, fantastic.
I don't sell them. I make them and give them to family and friends. But yeah. Yep.
Awesome. So you've got that coming out, and we'll definitely put that in the show notes. When is your beard balm dropping?
I'm thinking about making the batch this weekend, and then it has to cure and all that. But I've got the labels done, so probably within the next couple of weeks, I'll put something out on Instagram.
Excellent.
You know?
And so we can definitely find you on Instagram, and I know we can find you on Facebook. Where else can we connect us? How can we find you?
So I don't do a lot of Facebook. I hate Facebook. So I never touch it. The only time I ever go in there is to say, oh gosh, maybe somebody tried to get a hold of me, so let me go check my messages or let me scroll through the feed, and but yes, I am on there. I don't even know what my handle is. There you go.
That's just Micah Campbell.
Okay, there you go. Thank you. Appreciate that. Yeah. So it's really bad too, because Ichor and Ink has a Facebook out there somewhere.
It does. Yeah. That's where I pulled a graphic.
Yeah. And Anatolian Press has one, but I couldn't tell you what they are because I don't do anything on them because I hate it. Instagram, I'm always on Instagram, although Instagram is really, really losing a lot of traction with a lot of people. Their algorithm is really, really jacked up right now. So that's not the best place to be right now, but it's where I've kind of set my roots. So that's where I'm at. So you can look at us on Instagram, Anatolian_press, Ichor and Ink Podcast. Not Micah Campbell, which is my spam account where I spam Folger's advertisements.
I wondered about that.
Yeah. So
fantastic.
Yep.
So
and then of course I guess the important one is YouTube. That's
for
probably
Ichor and Ink.
Yep. YouTube, Ichor and Ink, and then www.AnatolianPress.LLC.com.
And we'll make sure all of that is in the show notes. And do you have any plans of visiting some haunted locations yourself soon?
I'm always down for it. Chelsea and I, we did a story about the something. If that helps.
Wow.
Yeah. It's a road. There's a road in Colorado. It's a road in Colorado. She lives in Colorado, and we found out it's only 13 miles from her. So, but it's a very haunted very active very haunted road, active during the witching hour. It's a winding. I don't know if you're in the hills or if you ever driven through the hills.
I have.
Yeah. But you know how they're just windy and they're up and down and they're just crazy. So it's like that, but it's super haunted. So I think we should go do that. I think it'd be awesome to go there at 3 a.m. And I told her this because I think it'd be hilarious. But I want to park, let her get out, then lock the doors and leave. And
oh my God,
see what happens. Like, I don't know, just see what happens. So if we can convince her to do that, I would like to do that.
Chelsea, I am so sorry that he's doing this to you.
I think it'll be great. I don't see the problem with it.
Okay, so I'm just gonna put it out there. I'm just gonna put it out in the universe. I think a group of us should go to Stanley Hotel in Estes Park, Colorado. I think it should include you and me and Chelsea and Betsy, because all of her stuff that happens in her book series started at the Stanley. I think we should do that.
That's a good idea. I think that it would only be right in the universe if the Mako guys were there.
I think so too.
Yeah.
And Brandon, of course. We got to get my co-host.
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
yeah.
You've heard possibilities.
Well, we could kill two birds with one stone, because Chelsea and I could go do the road, and we could do Estes Park since I would already be in Colorado. And if she survived, then she could go to the hotel too. So that'd be awesome.
Please survive, Chelsea. Please survive. We don't know what we'd do with you without you. Micah, this has just been awesome. We will make sure that we post all of the Ichor and Ink and Anatolian Press and all that stuff on our show notes. And it's just been great having you. Thank you for being with us.
Yeah, I appreciate you having me. I'm honored and blessed to be invited. We should shout out Chelsea's work too. Chelsea just finished her third novel in a 9-book saga, and these things are monsters. Like they give Stephen King books like The Stand. They give The Stand a run for its money. Like you could murder someone with this book.
I believe it's the Varelian saga, right?
Yeah, she always kills me about pronouncing, because I always pronounce her. I think it's Varelian, something like that. It's www.ChelseaMcKenna something books at a place.com. And But check her out and look at her on Instagram. Anyways, give her love because she's dope.
She is dope. And also give love to all the other authors under Anatolian Press, including Daniel Bouts, who wrote an amazing book, S.L. Dooley, Deborah Dobbs. What is the name of the young author?
That is Scarlett Hoffman. Then we also have Luke. We have R.S. Hamilton.
Mm-hmm.
See, now you put me on the spot because now I have to say everyone or someone's going to murder me. Who else?
You're welcome.
Who else do we have? I don't freaking know.
Maybe someday you'll have me. We'll see.
We'll see.
We'll
see.
Talk.
See, this is why, an audience, everyone listening, I asked Whitney multiple times, hey, you gonna have questions? Hey, when you gonna have questions, why don't you send me a list of questions so I can be prepared? No, it's fine. No, it's fine. We'll just wing it. Yeah, but I like to be prepared for questions. See, this would have been a question that you could say, hey, Micah, have a list of everyone you want to shout out, or but it's cool. It's cool, whatever. If you go to Colorado with us, I might leave you out on that road too.
Maybe
you and Chelsea can see what's up.
Maybe. The altitude will probably get me first.
You know what? I'm not good with that either. So that's something to take. That's something you can take into consideration.
Yeah, let's take that into account.
Yeah.
Oh, but you know what? We had just such a great time. I love it when conversation just flows. That's kind of the cool thing. And believe me, you want to see how prepped we can get? Wait till you see the episode in 2 weeks, our final for the season.
Nice.
Ooh, I've been prepping that one for years.
Oh my goodness.
Actually.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, because I thought about doing a book about it, but we'll see.
What's it on?
You'll have to find out you'll have to wait and find out.
Oh my goodness.
And in the meantime, guys, first off, thank you all. Thank you, chat, for being awesome as always and courteous and kind. Thank you again to Micah Campbell. And also we'll thank Chelsea McKenna, even though she was here in spirit. And I also thank my co-host, Brandon, in spirit. And I know Brandon would want me to say this. He would say, thank you for listening to the Para Unity podcast. And if you follow us on Apple, then you can leave us a 5-star review, 5 stars, or leave us a review. We do prefer 5 stars, but we do read all the reviews because it does help us make the show better. You can also find us on Google Podcast and all those other podcast catchers. You can even say, Alexa, play Para Unity podcast. And that just tickles me every single time. And it works too, for that matter, which is awesome. If you can find us on our YouTube channel. You can find us on Facebook and Instagram. You're also more than welcome to reach out to us anytime. If you want to be on if you know of a group that wants to be on the show, have them get a hold of us and visit us on our website. And while you're at it, buy us a cup of coffee, maybe even a Folgers.
There you go.
But for Brandon, I'm Whitney, and you have been in the best place to bring our paranormal families a little closer together, the Para Unity podcast. Good night, everyone.
Good night.